My name is Jenny White. I am 27 years old and a housewife. I married my husband, Alex, who is 3 years older than me, 3 years ago. We've struggled to have children, but our relationship had been relatively good. However, that all changed due to my husband's actions. Instead of showing remorse, you present me with divorce papers. Are you sane? The action that ruined our relationship was my husband's affair with my childhood friend, Kristen. When confronted about the affair, he showed no remorse and instead presented me with prepared divorce papers, declaring, "Why should I have to be the one to apologize? The affair was because of your infertility. I get so tired of coming home to this might work or that might be good. I'm sick of it. I got married when I was 24. We wanted children and started trying to conceive immediately after our wedding. Being young, I thought it would be easy to conceive without any trouble. However, it didn't go as planned, and I didn't get pregnant at all in these 3 years." He justified his affair with Kristen by blaming it on this. People normally can have children without any trouble. But you've wasted so much time and money because of you. As I vented to her, we ended up in that kind of relationship. I don't see why you should blame me. And yet, how could you? No matter what you say, I am going to divorce you and remarry Kristen. Kristen is now pregnant with my child. What? My child that couldn't be conceived with you. Happened immediately when I was with Kristen. That's why I intended to divorce you and remarry her even before you confronted me about the affair. It just worked out well. As it turns out, my childhood friend Kristen is pregnant with my husband's child. It seems he was planning to choose her over me from the start. I contacted Kristen, but she repeated the same things my husband had said. Disappointed by the actions of my childhood friend, I realized arguing was futile and accepted the divorce. That was 32 years ago. I am now 59, and I barely remember those times. Yet, fate has a strange way of reuniting people, and I unexpectedly ran into them again. Is that Jenny? What? Indeed. It is Jenny. What are you doing here? Do you know where you are? This is the maternity clinic, the maternity clinic. What do you need at a maternity clinic? Are you still not giving up on having children at your age? I was at a maternity clinic that had just opened last year in our hometown. The fact that I, infertile, was at a maternity clinic seemed amusing enough to them to point and laugh openly. We haven't seen each other in a while, but you're still the same. I understand the desire for children as a woman. But you're really making the doctors cry, aren't you? If you're infertile and childless at your age, there's no hope left, right? You might even be getting taken advantage of, letting you hope while draining your money. That's possible. Whatever you say now doesn't affect me anymore. But maybe you should look around? This is a maternity clinic, as you say. It's a hospital. If you can't be quiet, please leave once your business is done so you don't bother other people. Their words echoed in the quiet waiting room, and the other patients frowned upon hearing them. Unperturbed by the reactions around them, they looked at each other and snickered. We'd love to leave, but we can't just yet. Actually, the daughter Kristen was pregnant with back then is now pregnant herself. We're here for her checkup. So, we can't leave until her appointment is over. I see. Moreover, the doctor seeing her is the head of this maternity clinic. The hospital is new, just opened last year. And the head is only 31 years old but is reputed to be very skilled, being supportive during the unstable times of pregnancy. But Jenny, you wouldn't know about that, would you? Sorry, sorry. The two of them laughed mockingly at my silence. Their disdainful and belittling nature unchanged from 32 years ago. Witnessing this, I decided it was time to reveal a truth they were unaware of. I'm proud as a mother to hear such praise for my son. What? Son? Mother? You can't possibly have a child, can you? Have you finally lost your mind from wanting children so much? When did I say I didn't have a child? After you and I divorced, I remarried a man I met 6 months later. I found out I was pregnant soon after. And the son I had then is the one who opened this hospital. What? That's impossible. You must be lying just to show off. There's no way she, who didn't get pregnant even once in 3 years, could remarry and get pregnant immediately. Even if she did have a son, do you really think he could become a doctor? She wouldn't have the earnings to send him to medical school. That's all just bluff. There's no need to pay her any mind. It was then. Ah, Mrs. White, were you here? I've been looking for you. Didn't you hear the call at the reception? What? Actually, I need to talk to both of you about your daughter. Mom. Mom? Wait, what exactly is? Didn't I tell you earlier? He's my son. There's nothing strange about my son calling me Mom. Yes, today my sister came for a prenatal checkup. My husband is overseas on a business trip, so Mom came to accompany her. Mom, Erica's checkup will be almost over soon. The doctor said everything is going well. That's good to hear. I'll have to contact my husband later. The two were shocked as they watched our exchange. What did you say? You have 2 children. She must be the stepchildren from your remarriage, right? That's the only thing that makes sense. Still doubting? My son and daughter are both truly mine, born to me. That's impossible. Then my son responded to their conversation. Stepchildren from a remarriage, what do you mean? Wait, Mom, you knew Mr. White? My son knew I was divorced, but of course, he didn't know my ex-husband's name or face. He looked puzzled and asked me. They're not just acquaintances, they are my ex-husband and my former childhood friend. I don't know what fate it is, but we met here for the first time in 32 years. I never wanted to see them again. Then my son's expression changed. Oh, is this about that time you were treated as infertile? And he chose your childhood friend? You told your own son about that. I didn't tell him. But he found out when he was in middle school. He found the documents when I was seeking compensation through a lawyer. He asked me what it was all about. So, I told him. What exactly you two did. But still. Well, what happened in the past doesn't concern me. It happened before I was born. But what do you think about cheating because of infertility? We have many patients who come here struggling with infertility. Most couples work hard together to address the issue. Men who blame infertility on women and cheat are rare. But actually, the causes of infertility are nearly equal between men and women. Most men who cheat blaming infertility are mistaken. We often hear stories where upon testing, it turns out there was nothing wrong with the wife, but the problem was with the husband. I can understand not wanting to accept that you might be the cause of infertility. But to cheat without even testing and blaming it on the woman. As a doctor and as a man, I think it's the lowest thing you can do. Especially with your wife's childhood friend, it's unthinkable. But, well, thanks to Mr. White divorcing her, I exist as I am today. It's complicated, though. And it seems like Mom is happy now. She married a lawyer, And then my sister and I were born. What did you just say? A lawyer, father. Yes, my father is a lawyer. He was a paralegal at a law firm when he met my mother. He became a lawyer quite soon after that. Right? No way, that law firm is. Yes, I met him at the law firm I consulted about you. He was working there as a paralegal. He was assisting a lawyer. After our interactions ended, he approached me, and we were married within 6 months. Just now, you said my son couldn't possibly become a doctor. Indeed, my earnings alone might not have been enough to send my son to a university with a medical school. But by marrying my husband and combining our efforts, we were able to send our son to medical school. Of course, it was possible because of my son's own hard work. We just supported him from behind. I am grateful to my husband and children. They have given me happiness I couldn't have imagined when you left me. At my words, the two were speechless and fell silent. By the way, you mentioned earlier that you were looking for them. Is something wrong? Is there something you want to know about your daughter? Oh yes, that was it. Do you both know your blood types? Blood type? Yes, there's something I need to confirm. I'm A. I'm O. What? What's the matter? Do you know your daughter's blood type? Yes. I believe my wife said she's a type. I think she thinks she's a type too. What about it? While they were talking, I glanced at Kristen, who was sweating profusely and holding her face in her hands. Then, my son's next words revealed the reason. Actually, when we did a blood test on your daughter, we discovered that her blood type is not A but B. What? In the early stages of pregnancy, we conduct tests to ensure there are no risks to the mother and child during the pregnancy. We also test the mother's blood type. This is also to ensure quick response in case an emergency transfusion is needed. As your husband mentioned earlier, your daughter said she was type A. However, we can't just transfuse type A blood based on that statement alone. If by any chance she had a blood type that couldn't receive type A, it would be a serious problem. And this time, to prevent any such emergencies, we tested your daughter's blood type and found out it is not A but B. That's impossible. What did my daughter say about this? We haven't spoken to your daughter and her husband yet. There could be various circumstances. So we thought we'd check with the parents first since they were at the hospital. We had the reception call you earlier. My son informed them that their daughter's blood type, B, could not have come from two parents who are A and O. The ex-husband stood there stunned. What does this mean? Why would B type arise from A and O types? It must be a mistake. It has to be. That's the only explanation. Were you cheating? What? With some B-type man? What are you starting now? There's no way I did such a thing. But the fact is, she's said to be B-type. B-type can only come from a parent who is B or AB type. Since we're A and O, we don't have the genes for a B-type child. Explain what this means. The ex-husband's voice echoed in the waiting room, creating a complete scene. Mr. White, please calm down. How can I be calm? For 32 years, I thought she was my daughter. And now there's a suspicion she might be someone else's. Who exactly is? By the way, wasn't Kristen's longtime boyfriend B-type? At these words, Kristen appeared shocked. What are you saying? Remember, you had been dating him for nearly 10 years just before you decided to remarry my ex-husband. I think he said he was type B. Why do you know my boyfriend's blood type? We once went out together, remember? On our way back, we saw a sign for a blood donation bus. He casually mentioned, "They're short on type B blood right now. And I'm type B, maybe I should donate." He actually went to donate. So I remember clearly. You, with that man? It's not like that. She is truly your child. Then why is her blood type B? Think about it, it's impossible for two parents with types A and O to produce a type B child. Were you cheating? To catch my attention, did you pretend her boyfriend's child was mine? No. Believe me. She is definitely type A. She was tested at birth. The mistake is with this doctor. They must be confusing her results with someone else's. Talking big about opening a practice so young. Maybe he's a quack? Just a moment ago, you were bragging about how skilled and reputable the doctor handling your daughter is. You change your opinions too quickly. Busy person, aren't you? But that's because. And it's far-fetched to say that the child is his. What do you mean by that? You knew, didn't you? What? That it wasn't me who was infertile, but him. What are you talking about? Why would I be infertile? Didn't our son just say? Infertility isn't just a woman's issue. But why am I supposed to be infertile? That has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with it. The doctors told me clearly back then. Indeed, it was my husband, not I, who was diagnosed with infertility at that time. The words I spoke turned their faces pale with shock. It's a lie, right? It's a joke, right? It's neither a lie nor a joke. But that's never been mentioned. What are you talking about, have you forgotten? They tested me and found no cause of infertility. So they suggested your husband should also be tested. You were tested, weren't you? I told you that the issue was with you. I never heard such a thing. I definitely told you. But you never took my words seriously. All infertility is the woman's fault. A man could never be the cause of infertility. Because it's the woman who has to get pregnant. That's what you used to say. But that's. I kept telling you to go to the hospital with me over and over. But you insisted it was my fault. At that time, it came out that you were cheating on me with my childhood friend Kristen. When confronted, Kristen said she was pregnant with your child. The doctors had told you that without treatment, natural conception was almost impossible for you. I wondered how you could have easily gotten Kristen pregnant, but it was just as I thought. Are you really saying that? I wouldn't lie about something like this. So, the reason I couldn't get pregnant during our 3 years of marriage was because you were infertile. I've given birth to 2 children since then. That's the proof. It can't be true. Ah. It's been 32 years, so I don't know what has changed since then. But at that time, I was certainly told that was the case. Such a thing. If what you are saying is true, then that child might not be mine after all. If it bothers you that much, why not get a DNA test? That might clear up any doubts you have. And Kristen, you must have had an inkling, right? That despite trying, you couldn't get pregnant. Perhaps he was also a reason for the infertility. So, you got pregnant by your boyfriend at the time and claimed it was his child? Kristen, no. That's not true. That child is definitely ours. After raising her for 32 years, why would you get swayed by what your ex-wife says now? Besides, just because it was almost impossible doesn't mean it was absolutely impossible, right? There might still be a chance. Just because you were told you are infertile doesn't mean There is zero chance of natural conception. There is still a possibility. See, I told you. But if you're going to bring up this topic, as I mentioned earlier, it's impossible for parents with blood types A and O to have a child with blood type B. That's 100% certain. So, what does that mean? If either of your blood types was recorded incorrectly, there might be a chance of having a child with blood type B. But if your blood types are definitely A and O, it's difficult to say. But it's highly likely that she is not your child. That's basically what it means. How can you say that? Do you think it's okay for a gynecologist to tell someone that's not your child? People do ask sometimes. Patients ask if it's possible for two type A parents to have a type B child. If both parents are type A, the child can only be A or O. Conversely, if one parent is A and the other is B, then the child could be of any blood type. In such cases, it's my duty as a doctor to convey the truth. Fudging or lying can lead to serious issues for everyone involved later on. When the son explained this, Kristen turned bright red and began trembling. So, you mean the child might actually? As I said earlier, if there was a mistake with the parents' blood types, it wouldn't be strange for the child's blood type to be different. Is it possible for there to be a mistake with the parents' blood types? Sometimes the blood type tested at birth can be wrong. Or perhaps you misunderstood the blood type you were told by your parents when you were a child. But it's unlikely there was a mistake with the mother's blood type, especially since blood tests are done during the early stages of pregnancy. Like with your daughter. That means the mistake might be with the father. Have you ever had a major illness or surgery? I had surgery after an accident in my 20s. Then they would have tested your blood type. Have you ever been told there was a mistake with your blood type? No. I see. Then there's only one possibility. The father must have the B gene. Enough. Stop it. I've been quiet listening to you. Talking about someone's daughter as if she's a child born from an affair. Do you think you have a duty to tell the truth? Was there any need to blab about such private matters? I'll sue you for defamation. Even if she turns out to be your biological child, a child born from an affair isn't wrong. Because she was conceived through an affair with my husband. What did you say? And if you're thinking of suing me for defamation, you should be prepared to be sued yourselves. What? In this busy maternity clinic waiting room. This isn't a place for the infertile. It's pitiful that you can't have children. Who said those words to me? Well. At that moment, the two finally noticed the piercing stares of those around them. There were couples struggling with infertility and women suffering from illnesses. Their cruel words had everyone glaring at them. So, that was, Go ahead and sue if you want. Do as you like. But don't forget you've done even worse. Cornered, she glared at me and snapped. What are you saying I've done? Ganging up and blaming me like this? I feel sick. What do you mean that's not your child? So what if my daughter's blood type turned out to be B? Children with blood type B might be born from A and O type parents, right? It was then. Wait, what does that mean about my blood type being B? You said a child can't be born from two type A and O parents, right? Their daughter and her husband, having finished their consultation, had come to the waiting room after hearing the commotion. Nicole, please tell me clearly. No, that's not it. It's just a mistake by the doctor or something. A mistake? That can't be right, can it? We've had proper tests at the hospital. Doctor, am I really type B? Yes. Definitely type B. And a child cannot be born from A and O types, right? That's correct. Nicole? Mom, are you listening to me? I think you should listen to my story first. Am I not your child? No, that's not true. That can't be. Then why was I born with type B from A and O type parents? That's strange, isn't it? No, because. And you said earlier that mom's old boyfriend was type B. Could he be my real dad? That's. Answer me. How can this be happening when I'm about to have my first child? Why is there a doubt now that I might not be your child? With that, she broke down in tears. My heart ached seeing her cry. Pregnancy is a mentally unstable period already. To discover that she might have a different blood type from her parents at such a time. Nicole. Let's go home and talk. It's too public here, and we can't discuss this calmly. So. Don't touch me. Just leave me alone for a bit. I'll contact you when I've calmed down. Until then, I don't want to see either of you. Saying that, the daughter and her husband turned to leave. Wait, Nicole. Hey, Nicole. Ignoring her parents, she and her husband headed for the exit. And her parents hurriedly followed. This has turned into a huge mess. Did I maybe say something wrong? I never thought it would turn out like this. No, you didn't. This is their own doing. It was bound to be revealed eventually. It just so happened that the truth came out today after 32 years. As I watched their retreating figures, I relayed this to my son. Later, my son shared more news with me. The other day, Mrs. Ito came to our hospital. It seems that they did a DNA test after that, and it turned out the husband wasn't the father. I suspected as much. But why did she come to you? Well, after that, they discussed it as a family. They ordered a DNA kit online and tested it. And the result showed 99% certainty that there was no parental relationship between the husband and the daughter. She insisted the results were definitely wrong and demanded our hospital conduct another DNA test properly. I told her the DNA testing kits she used were highly reliable, and repeating the tests wouldn't change the outcome. She just wouldn't listen, kept saying this can't be happening. This will lead to divorce, our family will fall apart. So what ended up happening? We did the test. But of course, the results didn't change. The daughter was 99% not his child. When she saw the results, the wife exploded in anger. She couldn't believe it, accused us of lying, and started causing a scene. Eventually, we couldn't handle it ourselves, and we had to call the police to take her away. That must have been tough. It was more than tough. We see all sorts of people at the hospital, but that was unprecedented. With a heavy sigh, he recounted the events. A few months later, I received a call from an unknown number on my smartphone. It was her ex-husband. His voice was grave as he spoke. After that, I did a DNA paternity test with my daughter. And just like you said, we are not biologically related. I never imagined this could happen. Before I met you that day, it never crossed my mind. Then things got messy with Kristen. In the end, she confessed the child was from her boyfriend at the time. She was distressed he hadn't proposed, and we got married. She was jealous and took me from you, thinking if she got pregnant by me, who was struggling with infertility, it would be easy to take me away. But she couldn't get pregnant, ended up back with her boyfriend. Got pregnant by him, and then lied that it was my child. For 32 years. I see. He thought I didn't know about Kristen storming into my son's gynecology clinic. So he shared the entire story with me. In the end, I divorced Kristen. Moreover, after hearing the whole story, our daughter, she decided to cut ties, blocked my calls. My parents are gone, and I have no siblings. I'm all alone now. That's unfortunate. But why tell me all this? That's just it. If you had listened to me earlier, maybe it wouldn't have ended like this. But it's too late for regrets now. This is the future you chose back then. After that conversation, I never saw him again. Where he is or what he's doing now, I don't know, but he surely regrets his choices deeply.